Hi, my name is Lawrence and welcome to my video blog. So today I will be taking you around Fashion for Good, which is a sustainable museum. It's an interactive experience and it's based in Amsterdam. I went there last Friday and it was a really interesting experience because they have developed like these little watches which you will be wearing when you walk around the museum, and it really creates a different experience. So I will be getting later into that. But first, a bit more insight on the museum itself. They've created a sustainable museum to make people more aware of sustainable fashion and also fast fashion and what kind of negative impact fast fashion has on the environment and also on other people. They have like sponsors like Adidas and the CNA, and also Zalando and the CNA Foundation, which are the founding partners. Another fun fact is also that they have created the experience itself with sustainable pieces as well. Like the mirrors are sustainable, certain floor tiles are sustainable, which is pretty cool because they really like stick to their core and their core value of being a sustainable experience. Because of the watch, I was really curious in the beginning on how that creates an interactive experience, because I was thinking of really something different because I didn't really look into the museum yet before I went there. So I really went there with like an open mind. It created a big difference in how I experienced the museum, which I will be also getting more into later. But that is basically why I chose the Fashion for Good Museum to analyze. I thought it was really interesting on how they implemented that watch and how it can create like a whole different museum experience. We've all been to a museum, which is maybe kind of biased because not everybody maybe have been to a museum. Yeah, that is why I thought it was really interesting to analyze. So yeah, I'll be taking you around now, the interactive experience. I will be including some theory as well with 5 C's. So yeah, enjoy. So when you walk inside Fashion for Good, you immediately see the little watches that you will be using in the experience. Throughout the experience, there are different connections made to you. The two most common connections are the emotional and the educational connection. The emotional connection is defined as the experiential program elicits that creates a response from the target that is emotional. And the educational connection is used to create more awareness and educate people how easy it is to contribute to the environment with fashion. They educate users in Fashion for Good with little signs throughout the museum, and if it sparks some emotional value for you that you want to help with contributing to the environment, then you can tap your bracelet on the sign and it registers that specific act. Fashion for Good has the power to move people. When you go to the basement where the journey starts, you first get a timeline showing how far fashion has come positively and negatively throughout the decades. It also shows how cotton is made and how it is one of the most used fabrics in the fashion industry, and how that creates a positive and a negative impact. The emotional connection continues with pieces of paper on the table where you can write down how you're going to change your behavior, for example. There are also small videos you can watch how you can see fashion is made in the fast fashion industry, but also in different cultures. In terms of control throughout the experience, there is almost no control. No one is in control except yourself. When you want to register information on the bracelet, you choose that yourself. It doesn't matter in what area in the museum you go to or not go to. You have 3 floors, the basement, the first floor and the second floor. It is your own choice where you start, so you can say that they use the low control structure, informed influence, mostly because you are being influenced by going around the museum following the educational signs. Fashion for Good creates content using visitors of the museum. On the top floor, there's a spot where you can take photos, which then will be used into GIFs, which then will be used on the big screen in the hall of the top floor, which you can also share yourself. They also use videos to create awareness around other cultures and where cotton comes from, for example. Fashion for Good also uses testimonials, since the employees that do walk around are there to answer questions, and you can even take your own guide, which will then show you around the museum. They also use infographics, since there are quotes from inventors of sustainable fashion solutions and people that came to Fashion for Good themselves. To get into the Fashion for Good museum, you do not have to do anything. They simply offer experience for free, so there is not really a currency here to get into the experience. But if you want to use the bracelet and get interactivity, you have to share the information of your email address and some personal information. Only this way you will get your own personal Fashion for Good action plan created. You are allowed to take videos and pictures, which can relate to the social currency, where sharing your experience with others by media postings, shares, and mentions, you pay for the whole experience, but you are not obligated to in this case. In terms of conversion, the Fashion for Good does not really sell products, they sell behavior. They want to convert the message to be more aware of fast fashion and what can be done individually with clothing to have a positive impact on the environment. This message and experience is shared with others so that they are influenced and also maybe want to come to the experience is one of their goals with this. So my own personal experience was pretty well. I went on a really quiet day, so there was almost no one at the museum. But I think that's one of the main best things of the museum is that it doesn't have a particular route. So if it's busy downstairs, you can also easily go upstairs and still understand the whole process. But I really liked it. I thought the bracelet was fine. It worked well. I thought it was really interesting to see where fashion has started and where it has grown to in such a short time. And also to see where it is going and what people are inventing. I thought that was really interesting. The interactive experience was pretty limited, which is one of the things that I didn't like as much. You only have the bracelet and that's it. You didn't have really any AR, you didn't have any VR. You only had that as the interactivity. Maybe it would be fun if next time they really had a route. Of course, you can go to the basement, but still there you can just walk around and see. You don't still really have a path to follow. So I would say that that is definitely one of the things that can be improved. I also did 3 interviews with 3 classmates. They have made some different points, whereas Kaylee's I will show now. After this experience, do you think you can, that you're more conscious about your behavior?
I think definitely, because I became more aware of also about new things, or like some things were like super easy, like borrowing clothes for instance, which I actually normally never do, but which is like super easy to do. So yeah, there are things that I really will implement in my life.
And Lola also had some really interesting points to make. I will insert some of those clips now. If you could change anything from the experience, what would you change?
I think change how the bracelets look like. Get like a bracelet that you can tighten like that, you know what I mean? And then with just like a small chip on it, because that's a very minimalistic bracelet then, and that fits, I think, the museum more. And
Marika also had some interesting points. She mostly talked about the route as well, just as I mentioned. She would have liked if there was like a route that you can follow. She thought the bracelets were fine, and she would have liked if there was a little bit more interactivity. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that I've informed you enough about the Fashion for Good experience. I thought it was really fun. I really liked doing it. That was it. So thank you. Bye.